Hey everybody, this is Dr. Duncan. I wanted to make a short video to introduce you to the website for the fourth National Climate Assessment. What you're looking at here is a screencast of my computer screen showing I'm on Google Chrome here, and I'm on the web page for the NCA 2018, which is of course the fourth National Climate Assessment. So anyway, it's a pretty straightforward URL. You can actually just type in NCA 2018 to pretty much any browser, and this is going to pop up. So this is the landing page for NCA 4, and I want to point out a couple things. First of all, there's 2 volumes to NCA 4. This landing page gets you to Volume 2, which is Impacts, Risk, and Adaptation in the United States. And something that we'll have talked about by now, I think, is that 2 words that are important in climate change science, and that is adaptation and mitigation. Adaptation is kind of exactly what it implies. It's humanity adapting to climate change. Okay, so so this is the volume 2. I also want to point out that there is a volume 1, which as you can see down here. And that is the underlying science behind our understanding of climate change. So if we were to go and pursue that, which I'm going to do here in just a moment, we would go down here to the link, and I'm going to open this up in a new tab. And here's volume 1. It's not quite as flashy looking on the landing page as the volume 2. This is mostly to provide all that background science to all of the assertions that are in volume 2. So you've got, for example, information about how things are changing globally. You've got everything from climate models over here with chapter 4 to data about droughts, floods, and wildfire to rising sea level, changes in the Arctic, all this sort of thing. So not that many of you are going to want to do a deep dive into any of these topics, but should you want to or need to for some reason, I wanted you to know that this was out there. It's also important to know that there is strong science backing up what we see here in volume 2, so that you can trace back and see where that science is coming from, because that's always important for validation. Okay, so here we are back to volume 2, the landing page for that. There's these 4 choices. I'm going to start off with the summary findings. If you click on that, you basically get the 12 major findings of the volume 2 fourth National Climate Assessment. And they vary from, if you look over here on the menu bar to the far right, they look at impacts on communities, economy, things on water, health, all the way down to like infrastructure, coast, tourism, and recreation. If you click on any of these, let's say we clicked on ecosystems and services, since that's something that we've talked about in this course, there would be a short summary at the top, and then basically a paragraph that summarizes how ecosystem services are being affected by climate change. Not a tremendous amount of detail here for good reason, because these are just summaries of the findings. More in-depth information is found elsewhere. Okay, let's go back up to the top here. So that was the summary findings. If we go to overview, actually, but I'm going to show you report chapters. And let me point to you that the first chapter over here is the overview. And the overview is basically a summary of all these topics. So if we actually backed out here and went to the main landing page and went to the overview, it would take you directly to this page. And the overview is got a lot of detail in here, introducing aspects that are highlighted in this report. This is a good summary, so if you needed to, get a big picture overview of climate change and its effects on things, or you needed like a short kind of condensed summary about a particular aspect of climate change, that would be here on this page. You see this little menu box down here. You've got your introduction. You got, whoa, where did we go? There we go. Our changing climate kind of summarizes how the climate is changing, current and future risks, reducing risks, and then for those that have been geeking out on climate change for some time, what's news since the last climate assessment in 2013, 2014. Okay, so that's the overview that's in Chapter 1. Back here to the landing page. Now we're going to go over here to the report chapters. This is where you can do a deep dive on any number of topics and categories. As we talked about before, those summaries that you find in the overview and you find in other places, those are rather short and condensed. But you can do a much deeper dive on many different topics. So for example, maybe you're interested in ecosystems, ecosystem services and biodiversity. I wish those dogs would shut up. They're not mine. I can't do anything about them. Sorry. But anyway, so we click on that and we get to Chapter 7 on ecosystems and biodiversity. All right, at the top of each chapter, you'll see that there's a series of key messages. This is key message 1. Usually there's like 2 to 4 of them. There's not a lot. This would be impacts on species and populations. Clicking on these arrows to the right or left toggles between them. This is key message 2, impacts on ecosystems. 3 is ecosystem services at risk. Key message 4, challenges for natural resource management. Those are the folks that are managing various resources like water, forests, that sort of thing. And then we're back to key message 1. If you wanted to read about any of these key messages in more detail, you can click on more here and it will take you down to that section of the chapter where it talks about that particular key message. And then you have another one of these handy pop-up menus over here that show you a summary for this chapter. Whoa, don't disappear on me. There we go. State of the sector, regional summaries, and then the key messages and the summaries about them. Traceable accounts is interesting if you really want to geek out, because this is where they tell you where the data come from that are behind the key messages. So for example, key message 1, how do we know that all this stuff is happening that they describe above? And you can see all the little citations that are here, and you can track those down if you wanted to see what they're citing, what reports or research papers are citing to back up this particular statement. You click on one of these and you get the pop-up, and you can even click on the DOE here, open link in new tab. And this is way in the weeds, I realize, but some of you might be interested, maybe not now, but maybe later. And then this takes you to the online site where you can read the abstract from that paper, and depending on the journal, you may be able to download the PDF and read it. Okay, back to where we were. So this is that one of those chapters that I pulled out as an example. If we go back to chapters for the National Climate Assessment, you'll see that they're grouped according to overall national topics that apply to the whole nation. And that continues over here. And then there's regional topics. And of course, this is one that I've been using a lot to understand climate change in the Southeast. We can click here. This takes us to Chapter 19 on the Southeast. And we can read through our key messages about the Southeast. And then, of course, we can read more about these each of these key messages and the data behind them. So that's basically how this website's set up. I just wanted to give you an overall introduction to it. And there's a couple of reading assignments that take you to this website and have you read some things like the summary findings. The last little button here is for downloads, in case you want to download the PDFs or figures or something like that for maybe a report that you're doing in a class relating to climate change or something along those lines. There's plenty of files for you to play with here. Okay, well, that's it. Hopefully that's helpful to you all. Bye-bye.